Las Vegas Raiders are coming off one of the most improbable and crazy finishes maybe we've ever seen to an NFL game. But before we get into that, make sure you drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And shout out to our guy NRC right here for a really cool comment on one of our recent videos. But Matt, let's get into this topic today, man, which is the Las Vegas Raiders and their head coach, Josh McDaniels. How optimistic are you about McDaniels in his first year as the head coach and moving forward here?
I mean, not at all, because this is a Raiders team that made the playoffs last year, got better during the offseason with the additions of guys like Chandler Jones, like Davante Adams. I mean, Chandler hasn't played up to what I think they were expecting, but Davante definitely has.
For the most part.
You're talking about a guy who is considered the best wide receiver in the league by many. And not only that, but then you bring in an offensive mind in Josh McDaniels, and you get worse, especially on that side of the ball.
I don't know if the offense has gotten worse, but the team for sure.
I mean, they scored 16 points against a LA Rams team that has been struggling all season. This is not.
That was a tough week. That was an ugly loss.
Not only that, on the season. And then, you get snubbed by the Saints.
Shut out,
completely shut out. Davante can't get one touchdown. You can't get Josh Jacobs for a run. And not only that, but then you talk about this win against the Patriots. That was more about the Patriots completely forgetting how to play situational football, and then Mac Jones not being able to at least wrap his arms around Chandler Jones's legs to try and trip him up. This is not a Raiders win. Honestly, it's more of a loss. Like, I'm not happy about that. That just means they're not in. They're going to get a worse draft pick.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, a lot of what you said makes sense. I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm overly optimistic about Josh McDaniels or the Las Vegas Raiders.
You got a better chance than Hackett.
Especially, no doubt.
There you go.
Especially when you consider the fact when you mentioned a couple of those terrible losses on the season. I mean, again, getting shut out by the New Orleans Saints, who have been awful this season. Losing to the LA Rams, who were without Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, who started Baker Mayfield after being with the team for 48, 72 hours or something like that. And then giving Jeff Saturday his first win as an NFL head coach.
And only win.
Almost inexcusable. And all this happened in one season for these Raiders and Josh McDaniels' first season as a head coach of the Raiders. So obviously there's not a ton of reason, but at least you got to it for a moment. And maybe it's more so personnel than Josh McDaniels, but at least the offense is pretty damn good. They're 10th this season in points per game. They're 11th in total yards per game. So at least there's somewhat of a silver lining. As you mentioned, that's why he was brought in. He was brought in to help this offense. He's somewhat seemingly done that. And you mentioned that the Raiders made the playoffs last year. They snuck into the playoffs. They were a middling at best team for most of the season until that last kind of push, last few weeks of the season where they pushed into the playoffs. And obviously they had off-season or off-field issues as well. So that made it more impressive. But again, this wasn't a team last year that was great and that it was somehow now, completely, regress. I just feel like they haven't really taken the step forward that many of us thought, but that takes maybe a year or two.
I'll say this. I mean, going off of what you just said, yeah, they did, actually come together at the end after all of the Gruden drama. They came together and were able to power through to a win, and then honestly played a very close game in Cincinnati, and I'm sure there's people who still will point out those interesting calls. Yeah, exactly. So they're supposed to win a game. And even if the talent was still there last year, because you still had a lot, especially on offense, you had those weapons. Yeah. Then that means that the chemistry and the motivation and that emotion that pushed them into the playoffs, that made them play above, themselves and punch above their weight class, isn't there this year. And that's even scarier when you have better talent, you have a coach that was brought in to take them to that next level, and you don't have that from the team. That is concerning. And I haven't heard anything about locker room issues, but there's obviously something there where there's just not as much motivation as there was last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying right there probably speaks more to Rich Bisaccia and the job that he did last season. And again, obviously, you can't expect Josh McDaniels to come in year one and get that locker room completely on board and get that chemistry that you're expecting, as opposed to Bisaccia, who's been there for a few years.
Brian Daboll has changed my entire outlook on first-year head coaches.
Brian Daboll, Mike McDaniel, you can throw in there as well.
Doug Peterson, first time coaching, but
we're seeing head coaches in new places for the first time, first year, getting it done and kind of getting a hold on the locker room. We're not seeing that out of Josh McDaniels, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen or that it can't happen. There's been some encouraging things with the Raiders this season, but there's also been some very bad things, which makes for an interesting offseason for them. I'll ask one question quickly before we get up out of here. Where does this leave Derek Carr? Is he the franchise quarterback still for this
I don't know.
franchise moving forward.
After everything with Gruden and the expectations that they were going to, will he, won't he move on? This season has not done anything to really help Carr.
No.
And
you give him the best receiver in the league, and
I'll put it this way:
pretty much the
if
same.
you're assuming you're going to get better, this might be the best chance you have to get a good quarterback in the first round, because you'll have an earlier draft pick, or you might be able to trade
earlier
up.
than you thought before the season release.
Exactly. And so if somebody's there, I wouldn't be surprised if the Vegas Raiders make a move.
Yeah, it's interesting.
To draft.
And I just talked to Pro Football Focus's Mike Renner, who is their lead draft analyst. He expects that there will at least be 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round of the 2023 NFL draft. So make sure you check out that interview. And yeah, you're absolutely right, man. The Raiders might be in the search for a quarterback in this upcoming draft, but that's going to do it for us. Drop a like, drop a comment. Make sure you subscribe to catch us talking sports every single day. We'll catch you next time.
Bad bet, and they might be buying a new car.
Thanks for watching. Feel free to check out our other videos, and don't forget to smack that subscribe button down below while you're at it. Also, for more great and original content, head right over to bvmsports.com.